For us, it meant getting those links that we can see the measurable impact of.
So word of advice to SaaS founders: build your profile and then allow your digital PR and SEO team to use your name and get you some nice backlinks. Welcome to another episode of Mospod. My name is Chima Mejo, your host, and our guest today is John Burton. John, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey Chima, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
John is the head of strategy at MRS Digital, where he turns his clients' objectives into multi-channel strategies that deliver incredible results. John specializes in integrated search strategies and helping clients navigate high-risk SEO migrations. Speaking of high risk, John is an adrenaline junkie who rides dirt bikes in his spare time. Today, we're talking about felling Goliath on a David budget. If you find anything interesting from this episode, please use the hashtag Mospod to tag us and share your insights on social media. Staffology is a company owned by Iris, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Here's something I found interesting. You leverage Staffology's founder, Duane Jackson's reputation for offsite SEO. I want to understand why and how you even achieved this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Duane, we got lucky. Like Duane Jackson is fascinating. He's a real, not only is this guy a self-made tech millionaire, but he's got the most interesting story. And I can't really go into it now. You can find it online, but it's a real rags to riches kind of tale, full of intrigue and stuff. So when we're going out, reaching out to publications, trying to build relationships, it's such a good door opener. And ultimately, Duane did author some of the articles that we earned, but more often than not, it was just a talking point to build these relationships. When you're reaching out to journalists, for example, just having a good story means they want to talk to you. And then you can change the topic and say, actually, we want to talk to you about something else. And so that just boosted our hit rate when it came to earning links and placements.
Okay, so this is digital PR we're talking about now.
Yeah.
You used Duane Jackson's reputation as a way to open doors and open conversations, because journalists always found him interesting. And then once you have their intention, you switch to the real thing that you want from them.
Yeah.
And already they're hooked. So you have their time, you have them in your inbox, and it just help you to get links. How many links would you say you got off the back of leveraging Duane Johnson? No. See, I was going to call him Duane Johnson, The Rock.
No, I don't know if he called The Rock. I couldn't put a number on it, but look, in that industry in particular, we found it was more about quality. It's about getting articles that not only people read and value, but they actually get click-through rate from them. Those are the links are actually going to make a difference. So, we're talking dozens of good placements. So, yeah.
How do you even measure the impact of personal branding on SEO?
Very difficult. I guess, there are some hard KPIs you can measure. We were, Duane's got a profile and we'd optimize the site to that. So we were getting clicks to the site just from his reputation alone. That's an instant measurable, but that bigger impact is very hard to determine. I think it ought to be measured in what does it actually mean? And for us, it meant getting those links that we can see the measurable impact of.
So word of advice to SaaS founders: build your profile and then allow your digital PR and SEO team to use your name and get you some nice backlinks. Paint us a picture of what SEO looked like at Staffology before you jumped in.
Yeah, so we started, MRS Digital started working with Staffology in 2021, and we kind of got brought on board with quite a slim budget. They hadn't allocated what the full potential was worth, really, given that Staffology is an Iris company. And basically, as the website had almost very little visibility, they were barely ranking for their own keywords. And even then, some of them weren't, delivering traffic. So it was almost ground zero, although they had a lot of SEO equity and a lot of untapped potential to build on.
So what were the standout results of the SEO campaign?
Yeah, I could start reeling off all sorts of stats, ROI and results, but ultimately the things that really mattered to them was they wanted to rank for payroll software, and they weren't anywhere to be seen to start off with. But within 18 months, we were ranking 4th for that. outranking like big names like SagePay and even their own Iris's own products in their portfolio. So that was a big deal. And then for us as an agency, MRS, it's won us multiple awards now. So I think that's a big deal.
Wow, that was incredible. So what were the specific areas of performance you targeted for improvements?
So we looked at it from multiple angles. We have like our own audit process that covers the 4 pillars of SEO, what we consider the 4 pillars. And we identified like content to be absolutely critical to them. We'd worked in the industry before and we'd seen a big gap for like really cohesive content strategy within that industry.
So were there any like SEO strategies that were critical in achieving this success?
Yeah, of course. So there's quite a few, but some of the key ones were topic clusters. So we saw there's a really good opportunity to basically be like the go-to source for information about payroll software and HR software. And it sounds quite basic, but we built out our clusters around each of those pillars, HR software and payroll software, and literally built them completely from scratch. And we use a concept we think of as reading paths. So identifying like really obvious like next steps when someone's finished reading something that helps them. What do they want to read next? So we'd build that piece of content, link it up correctly. And so that way we essentially end up with a topic architecture where a reader will come to it. And if they've read the whole lot, they basically find out everything they need to know about payroll software, for example, short of actually going out and buying some. So when it came to actually converting people, it was quite cool because you'd basically walk them to the front door. So then all you were really doing was like opening it up, welcome, come on in.
What else apart from topic clusters did you do SEO wise?
So big for us as well, again, content focus was EAT strategy, or EAT as it is now. And I know that's a bit of a like contentious subject in SEO right now. I know, like Search Liaison, like Google came out the other day saying that EAT has no impact on rankings. And didn't Danny Sullivan say that EAT doesn't impact any factors that impact any other ranking factors? So completely ruling it out. But in reality, we see it work. And ultimately, I guess it comes down to the fact that if you're using those EAT principles, ultimately you come out with better content, stuff that is demonstrating real expertise, the experience of people in the industry. And as we know in SEO, like the cream rises to the top.
So how are you showing these EAT features inside the content? How did you bake it in?
Part of it was making sure that we spoke to the right people at the business. It's very easy as an agency just to take content and write it all ourselves. And, we write great content, but it's never going to be quite the same as if you've got a true expert contributing. So we worked with them to create an expert board. And that way we made sure pieces of content had the right expertise at the right time. And
so you were platforming internal experts for all of the content pieces you were creating and using that to like build EAT and authority for those internal experts.
Yeah, definitely. And then we were using like a varied authorship on the articles, and then building on particular personas like this Duane, who's a really big deal in the industry.
Okay. So HR and payroll is very, very competitive. How did you outrank these industry giants on SERP results?
There isn't really like a magic bullet when it comes to this. I guess we approach it in the same way we would any really high competition industry. I always think of it as like driving a wedge. So you want to get that foothold with like narrow, lower competition keywords. So for these guys, we were looking at things like umbrella payroll company and like payroll software that integrates with, whatever, and different applications. And once you've got that foothold, you build on those topics and it kind of grows from there. And I think that's a really good piece of advice. You never go for those hero keywords from day one. It's about, getting that foothold and gradually building it over time, looking at what's working, using that Search Console data effectively and building from that.
If you've been keeping up with SEO updates, then you probably know that keyword research must align with search intent or it just doesn't work. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Identifying funnel-based intent might look simple, but quickly becomes complicated as search intent evolves. How do you know when search intent changes? What if a commercial keyword is actually an informational keyword? Rather than playing guesswork, our new Keyword Explorer powered by AI simplifies your research with high-value keywords optimized for search intents. Whether your goal is to generate revenue with commercial keywords or educate your audience with informational content, Moz AI helps you maximize every dollar out of your SEO budget to achieve your marketing goals. You mentioned topic clusters and creating an information architecture that flows from you've read each piece of information, what else do you want to know, what else do you want to know, and then you're baking EAT into these content pieces that you're creating, platforming those internal experts. I'm trying to understand, like, is this the full picture of the SEO strategy that you built for them?
I mean, no, ultimately it's only one piece of the puzzle. So, we offered like the full remit of SEO, right? But, that was the key kind of cornerstone of what was working for them and what made the difference. But, we know that from our own experience that user experience is huge in SaaS for both, positive results in terms of user engagement and conversion, but also SEO. So we did a whole strand of CRO alongside what we were doing as well. And ultimately created something that looked great as well as and felt great alongside the pure SEO that we were doing.
So did this increase in search performance have any impact on Staffology's brand recognition and authority in the HR and payroll niche? Already given that we've established that even though Google is saying that EAT is not a ranking factor, blah, 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 we can still see, those of us who are doing the work, that it has some impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And their profile only grew and grew. And I think one thing that's incredible in this instance is that, when we started Iris, MRS working with Iris, Staffology was only one small product in their big, vast portfolio of different software products. And within 2 years, essentially it was their go-to growth product. So within both outside of Iris and within, it had grown huge in terms of its profile.
So let's talk about that branded search, because that's always one way to see how people are recognizing the brand. Did you notice any growth in branded search as you kept on doing the work, the SEO work with them?
Yeah, definitely. It grew in line with results. Ultimately, we were getting this on top of those hero keywords, this content profile was growing in its search footprint and just getting loads more traffic, new visitors, and that was having that knock-on effect on brand search. And it's anecdotal, but we see that very clear correlation between that brand demand and search and interactions and click-through rate in SERPs and the results as well. So it does have that snowball effect.
One of the initial problems was that the website was not SEO friendly. How did you prioritize and tackle the necessary changes to support the SEO goals that you set out in the beginning?
Yeah, it's a good question. And on a tight budget, it is difficult to do everything you want to at once. So for us, it was a combination of, a good audit structure. So taking the time to really understand what was working and what wasn't, but also we front weighted the work and we did a lot of quick wins activity. And I can't understate how important that is. For these guys, they've got a lot of untapped potential, as I say. So, they had previous websites, they had been a previous brand in another incarnation. And what this meant was they had this disparate profile online that wasn't really working for them. So there's a lot of work.
What do you mean?
So, there was people referring to their old brand name. Iris was talking about them. People were talking about them, but only vaguely. So we were identifying all these different touch points offsite, away from their own website, and try and using them starting points to build relationships, earn placements, build links. And that worked really hard for us, getting them quick wins early.
Okay, let's do a hot take. What is the one thing that frustrates you the most about SEO, the industry?
I think one thing I love about SEO is that it's open to anyone. You can teach yourself regardless of qualifications, but that does mean that there's also a variety of quality in the industry. So, we do get clients who come to us, and there's some great consultants, great small agencies out there, but there are some clients who'll come to us who've had that bad experience in the past, and they've got this jaded outlook on SEO. And there's also that point, like sometimes really having to justify the cost because, they've worked with someone who charges like £30 an hour or whatever it might be.
I can imagine that creates like some serious problems, having to explain to clients that £30 an hour is not going to get you the full suite of services that you deserve, right?
Yeah, that's right. And, one person, for example, is never going to quite offer the same as like a whole team of people who've got individual specialisms.
Exactly. You're not going to get digital PR, content, technical SEO, all that good stuff on £30 an hour.
No.
Yeah, good point. So let's talk content strategy now. You implemented a content strategy that more than doubled outputs. Now, that doesn't tell us the real figure. When you say more than doubled outputs, I want to hear, what was that real figure? Let's start with that. How many content was it before? How many content does that mean more than doubled?
A tricky question because we can't really tell you like how much, how many hours we had on that project. But ultimately, like we essentially had the amount of time to produce essentially 2 pieces of content a month in the normal realms. But what we did was Iris are a bit of a giant. Like they've got such a diverse expertise and like been around for a long time. So they've got all this internal resources, old content online, all this great stuff that just isn't being utilized effectively. So essentially what we did was we did a huge audit of all that stuff, gathered up the best stuff and started repurposing it. So at that point, early on, we were able to put out like 6 pieces of content a month almost, when we'd normally be doing 2.
Wow, okay. What does your content proposing process even look like?
Good question. Like it's different on every different circumstance. In this case, it was very much like we built out those topic clusters. So we knew we almost had the slots for the search intent that we're trying to drop content into. And then in this instance, we're trying to find what existing content is valuable and will fit into those slots. And then like our talented content writers at MRS are stitching those together, upcycling, and then optimizing those. So it's still a lot of skill involved, but it's just, being smart about the resource you have in the first place.
So what was the result of this double content production that you now have on traffic, engagement, and conversion?
I mean, I guess it comes down to like overall results. We got results so much quicker than we would otherwise. We knew this was these topic clusters were going to be key to the success. And rather than waiting like maybe a year to build them out effectively, we'd done that in half the time or less. And so you very immediately saw the results. We were getting uplift within the first sort of 3-4 months.
What kind of uplifts? I'm just going to keep bugging you until you give me some real
You want
information.
some figures?
Yes, like not necessarily figures, but tell me, there was conversion increase, there was engagement increase, there was traffic increase. In what way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we look at it from the pure like content perspective. Traffic, like we're caring about people discovering the site through relevant search terms, people early in the funnel. And, we were getting thousands of visitors within months, like for the right kind of terms. People asking we were covering some actually really fundamental topics, but just because we'd identified opportunities where they'd just not been written that well in the past. So we're essentially providing the best version of that online. So people just asking simply like, what is payroll software? What's the difference between why should I have a payroll software versus managed software? Stuff where, that's boring to probably listeners, but it's really important to the audience of, Staffology as a client.
Okay, so this campaign delivered an ROI of 407.7%. That's a lot. What metrics did you measure to come to this number?
So, yeah, it's a good question. And I guess most SEOs will relate to this, or marketers in general, is like you never have that perfect measurement unless you're in e-com or you're very lucky to have a really nice tech stack. This wasn't based purely on revenue. If we were to base it on that, like it would have been much higher. But so we were looking at, we had a fairly robust funnel, like a CRM funnel, so we could measure the value of leads, look at the funnel drop off through there, and ultimately determine the value of the leads we were generating, and then obviously reconcile that against how much the client was spending on SEO and associated budget.
Were there any challenges that you faced during this project?
Yeah, definitely. So in the first 4 months, so we started getting results really quick. And then the clients kind of surprised us. They launched an HR product alongside their payroll one at around about month 5. And in doing so, they completely relaunched the website. And this was happening like in parallel with the work we were doing, but we had no input on it. So they literally just dropped this, and it sounds really bad. And as SEO people, we're like tearing our hair out, and but ultimately as a business, that was the right move for them. So we just have to pick up the pieces. So their visibility started like, basically they did all the things that you probably shouldn't do with a new site launch, like restructured. They essentially completely changed the homepage and what the homepage covered. So massive challenge. And we just had to rally the troops. We put in extra time. There's a lot of convincing to do. So we had to work with the client to convince them to completely restructure the site. And then actually within a few months, we'd managed to convince them to another partial rebuild, because essentially what they launched just didn't perform, both from a technical SEO perspective and like a user performance perspective, like site speeds and stuff. So our internal developers rebuilt the site in part to make it completely core Web Vitals friendly, rebuilt a load of the sort of technical structure of it, which was,
I find it very interesting, because something that we keep hearing is that if you don't work with the SEOs that you're paying to do the job, then you're just going to get shitty results when you launch and then bring in SEO after, versus when you plan with SEO before you launch. That sounds bonkers. Like, I can't even imagine any company at all working with an agency and then going out and launching a new product without telling the agency, then changing the website and doing all of the things that are like the direct opposite of SEO best practices in that launch. That must have been like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was. But I guess it's, as I said, it's interesting because, as SEOs, that's the worst thing in the world for us. But, ultimately, like, these guys have so many machinations going on. They've got all sorts of business considerations. So ultimately, like, they're doing the right thing at the right time. They didn't have the opportunity to consult with us at the right points. So, it would have been actually a bad move to restart that whole project or delay it just so that they could get that integrate, like the SEO stuff. So I guess importantly, at least they had the SEO agency in place, the experts, when they made that big drop. So at least the right things could be done afterward. It's not ideal, but it's better than, the alternative, it just all collapsed.
Hey friend, if you stuck around this far, I'll take it you're enjoying the podcast. Please hit the like button to show your support, subscribe to stay in the loop, and click the bell button to get notified when we release a new episode. Thank you. What are the key learnings from this campaign that can be applied across board for other SaaS companies?
Would it be wrong to say hire MS Digital? Like, honestly, I think it's a case of having the right expertise and at the right time, like, working with it doesn't have to be an agency, but if you're an organization, regardless of whether it's SaaS, like, and you're in a key period of digital transformation, whether that's growth or like restructuring of your site or expansion, especially like overseas activity, having that expertise is like golden. Like, even if it's just for a short term, like, it's going to pay off no ends ROI wise.
Not good enough. I want more. From a strategy point of view, what did you do from a strategy point of view that can be applied to other SaaS company projects?
There's so much. I think, like, getting content right, those topic clusters, I know it's pretty fundamental stuff, but so important. I think one thing that we found was really important very early on, and I think not every SaaS company gets it right, is taking advantage of the unique behavior in the SaaS industry. So for us, we noticed that there's a lot of people, they had good brand awareness when we started. So there's a lot of people going out looking for comparisons and reviews and like asking questions about the software and looking for pricing and stuff. And they weren't always answering those questions. So people were actually ending up on other websites to answer questions about the brand that we were working with. So just consolidating that, making sure you're optimized, you've got complete like dominance of that brand search. Even that is super important. And I think it'd be surprising how many people don't actually manage that properly.
And that's what I was asking for, John. Now you're giving it to me. I have to agree with you. You have to always look internally about what can you own, like branded search and all that stuff, because it's still very important. You want people to find you, and when they find you, you want to provide the information that they're looking for. So good advice there. What is one thing you do every day that brings you a tiny pocket of joy?
I don't know. If you're expecting an SEO,
no, not even work, not SEO.
Okay, good.
Something in your day, something you do every day that brings you a tiny pocket of joy.
Cool. I mean, like I'm really lucky. Like working at MRS Digital, we've got basically like most of our team.
No MRS Digital answer.
Oh, it's
outside of work. Outside of work, what do you do outside of work, John? That brings you a tiny pocket of joy.
Okay, fair enough. It is important, like with the people, like I love the people I work with. Like I've got right over there at the office, I've got a head of content. She our lead content writer. And, we just share like stupid like puns and stuff. Amazing. And that makes me laugh. Like, but outside of work, like as you said in the intro, I like dirt bikes. So, go and try not to hurt myself riding motorbikes in the mud. That makes me happy.
That's amazing. That's it for today on Mustpod. Don't forget to use the hashtag Mustpod to share anything you found interesting on today's episode. Thank you to our guest, John Burton, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This episode was engineered by Saul Fox, produced by Chima Meja and Joe Cameron, and our YouTube footage was filmed and edited by Sarah Galpin. Remember, curiosity did not kill the cat. It just improved the search rankings. Bye-bye.